Marcel, just before you get to tomorrow's game, just a comment, seeing as how you and your Ottawa GDs denied McMaster back in 2000 the right to go to the venue, but now you're part of the Hamilton football community, what it means to you guys to see McMaster advance, and the fact that it could be a very rare doubleheader next weekend in Vancouver if you get past the Bombers tomorrow.
Well, the first thing is I was excited for McMaster, and you're right. I remember that 2000 game, and I was reflecting on it, and the satellite didn't work on WestJet, but we could get the audio, so I was able to listen to the game, and especially when they came back after down 14-0. I was excited, and I'm happy for the city of Hamilton. I'm happy for McMaster. I know they came close 4 years in a row, and weren't able to push through the semifinal, and now they're there, so that's great. It's just an exciting time, and congratulations, Coach Pistasic and the rest of their team.
And the fact you possibly could make it even more historic tomorrow? Well,
that's that'll be decided on Sunday, between us and Winnipeg in terms of how that part works out. But our focus is on our game, but our congratulations is definitely McMaster.
Marcel, Ryan's ready to go.
Ryan is healthy and he's ready to go. Yes.
Did Terrence Jeffers-Harris provide your organization with a photocopy of the Bombers playbook?
No, he didn't provide us with anything, but I know it makes for good stories.
Did he provide you any useful information about the Bombers game plan for Sunday?
None whatsoever.
Marcel?
Yes.
This obviously, as you said, has been a big media story. Did you have any hesitation about bringing him in just because it would create what I think has been a distracting situation for both teams? Was there any hesitancy on that part?
Well, first of all, David, it hasn't been a distraction for us at all, to be honest with you. Obviously, there's questions to answer, but that's not a distraction. There's always noise this time of year. But the reality is, there was some, and it came back to best business practices. And we've always had a policy that if there's a player that we like and we can acquire, regardless of the time of the season it is, that we're going to do our best to acquire that to improve our football team, whether it's for this year or for next year. And last year, a similar situation came up with Darius Bowman, where we probably could have brought him at the end of the year and didn't. And he ended up signing them as a free agent and had more familiarity with them than us. And look at the season he's having. So I think you've got to go with best business practices, and sometimes, unfortunately, timing is not the best thing, but you've got to do what's best for your football club.
Coach, you've had Kevin Glenn now for a while. Did you see another side of him last week that maybe you hadn't seen before, something that impressed you or jumped out at you?
Well, obviously, he rose to the occasion, and he played big in a big game, and you've got to have your best players play big in big games. That's well documented, and that part, his leadership last week and how well he played was important, and he did such a good job of managing our team as well and managing the situations in our offense, and that was critical to our success.
How have your players reacted to our beautiful weather?
Well, I think that we've done a pretty good job of communicating that all year. This could be the situation. We were at Regina a few weeks ago, and it wasn't as cold, but it was certainly windy, so that part of it works well. And I asked for a show of hands this morning of how many players from our team actually were born and raised in Manitoba or Saskatchewan or Alberta, and then how many players have played in Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. And 70% of our team have either played out in the prairies and in playoff games and or were raised and born here, so I think that should be an issue.
Coburn just tweeted that Jeffers-Harris provided your organization with a copy of the Bombers playbook. Any idea why he would say something like that if that's not true?
I have no idea why he did that. Maybe it's to create some noise. It's news to me. I don't follow tweeting. You're just told this for the first time, but it certainly didn't happen, so I have no idea why he did that.
It says here TJ didn't give us the playbook, but he did tell us that Buck was going to play.
Oh, so somebody's not telling me the truth.
Well, no, there was an earlier tweet in which he said he did.
Let's move on, guys.
Okay, let's move on. There's he said, she said, there's tweet said and tweet said.
Hey Marcel, what is I guess in the core it's more of a mental toughness than physical. I mean, professionals. Is it more of a mental sort of aspect to playing in inclement weather?
It really is. It's ironic. Somebody slipped a quote from Kissinger in my door the other day and said, "With every success brings upon new challenges and issues." And last week's success indoors brought us a new one this week. And this week, one of the challenges is playing outdoors and just having that mental toughness and playing at this level. It's a different type of game. Obviously, when you play outdoors and you deal with the elements, and it's a different mental toughness. There's mental toughness, which is just not allowing distractions to get in, not listening to the noise around you. And then there's mental toughness where you have to challenge yourself individually and physically. And this will be one of those situations where it's going to be more of a physical than a mental.
How often do you get these noises?
This one was apropos.
Marcel, does your, in third down situations, field goal or punt, I mean, if you're kind of hovering around that 45, 50-yard line, does your game plan change now because of the wind, because of the conditions, from a special team standpoint?
That's more predicated on the kicker, and because we know what Justin's range is. He's very forthcoming pre-game and honest about where he needs to be. So we know where we're going to be as it relates to field goal range and potential to get points, and that may change things more so than and want us to go more straight ahead if we're already at field goal range versus being at a field goal range might be more aggressive.
So what about Beswick? Is he ready to go?
Yeah, Mark is healthy and he's ready to play.
Marcel, you look at the regular season, the 3 wins the Bombers had. What do you have to do differently tomorrow to reverse that outcome?
Well, the first thing, as I stated in the French question, was that we've got to be able to do better in the turnover ratio. They won the turnover ratio all 3 games, and that was important. And the second thing is, I felt like we need to start better against this football team, and they've done a great job of starting well against us and winning the turnover battle, and those are 2 areas we have to be better at.
Marcel, you talked about the importance of thick head, your team, both the return game and the offense.
Critically important. First of all, talk about the return game. Field position is important. Last week we started on inside of our opponent's end 3 times after kickoffs and scored short touchdown drives. So that's very important to us. Potential to score, set up scores, and special teams. Everyone's talking about everything but special teams this week, and I think that's going to be one of the key areas. So that's important to us. And then offensively, his ability to score from anywhere on the field. And whether we hand the ball to him, throw the ball to him, screen the ball to him, there's potential for big plays there.
So you got Avon 19 touches last week. Is that a number that is conducive to winning? Is that something you'd like to see tomorrow as well?
Yeah, 18 to 21 is kind of the benchmark that when we have success, he touches the ball in those situations. Now, a lot of that's predicated on the game and how it's going. When you're playing in a game where you're either playing we played in front a lot last week, so we were able to be patient and hand the ball off and live with some 1s and 2s and -1s, and so that made it a little bit easier.
Any more questions, guys?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, man.